Hello everyone, welcome to our panel discussion from retail to e-commerce, tech to transform the high street. We'll be pitching topical questions about the developing landscape of retail and how tech has changed it forever to a panel of leading experts in the field, including representation from Google. It's a chance for us all to see the best in e-commerce and what they're doing with the most up-to-date tech. You're more than welcome to join the discussion by adding comments and questions in the chat box to the right of the video stream, and we'll see if we can get round to them at the end. You've got two moderators today, me being one of them. My name is David Cooper. I'm the marketing manager at Fountain, a global award-winning digital marketing agency and consultancy. Our mission is to make your life easier by driving profit through paid ads, search engine optimization, and website optimization. But right now, it's to offer you valuable insights to improve your marketing with our content like this panel. I'll now hand over to Jan, our other moderator today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our panel. I'm pleased to welcome you here. For us, everyone, it's been quite a challenging year. And I think it's good to talk about topics about e-commerce and retail and tech innovation, what has changed. Just to give you a quick intro about myself, I represent Adamup, which is software engineer and design agency company. We work with small businesses and enterprise businesses and also startups, and trying to help them to either change their digital strategy or bring a new products to life. And make it as best possible, not just looking, but also from functional perspective, and always trying to figure out some new innovation. And e-commerce is one of our sort of main areas of expertise. So I'm very happy to now talking to three experts and very interesting people about this topic. So I'll probably just give words to each of our guests to just introduce themselves, and they can have just a few words about what they do, where they're from. So Dan, if you start.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Dan Shaw. I'm the Managing Director of Inc. Retail, and we're part of the Inc & Co group. And the brands that sit within Inc. Retail are Knomo London, Chopped, and Laundrap, which is an award-winning digital laundry service. My background is 30 years in retail, and have worked across a number of key brands such as Gant, Tommy Hilfiger, Jones Bootmaker, and I spent the last 4 years as head of retail innovation for Into Shopping Centres. So I'll hand over to Adam.
Thanks, Dan. First, just thanks to the guys at Adamup, Jan and team, and David from Fountain for having me. And thanks everyone for listening as well. My name is Adam. I'm the Googler here. I work in Google. I work in a team called Google Customer Solutions. So what we do is we partner and work with basically the best and brightest clients and agencies within the UK and Ireland to help make sure that, yes, they're getting the latest, the greatest in terms of tech, but also that we are building tech that can help make their businesses as profitable as possible. My experience in retail, so I actually started working in Tommy Hilfiger when I was 16. Dan, I didn't know you were involved with them, on the Grafton Street in Dublin, so our main thoroughfare in Ireland, selling suits for about 5 years. I then went off, did college, master's degrees in digital, and then switched into the digital space. So I've been working primarily with agencies, but across EMEA, and then some global operators as well, from everything from measurement and attribution solutions to final delivery of advertising and UX. Indy.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Indy. I am the Chief Commercial Officer for a brand new company that's coming into the UK in June. It's called Zellebrate. It's an Australian company. And we are here to kind of hopefully revitalise the local shopping landscape, and we're all about shop local. My background very quickly, for the last, 20, nearly 30 years, I've been in sales and marketing on the digital side of things. I was I was the first salesperson for voucher.co.uk, one of the leading UK daily deal sites. And my most recent role before Zellebrate was also at Into Shopping Centres, where I actually ran the digital and omni-channel sales team.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. Some great introductions, and I think now we'll move into questions. Jan, I think you got the first question.
Yep, absolutely. So I'd like to open up with first sort of, I think, more open question, and you could also, you can also include some of your sort of personal changes or what have you done last year. But it's basically, the question is, how did you spend last year, and what was the main sort of sticking and learning point for you and for your business? And I'll let you guys, who wants to speak first. I'll take Dan again first.
Yeah, no, happy to go first. And I think it's probably quite nice to kick off from a personal point of view. And it's really interesting to hear, Indy talk about, shopping local. And I think that is super important for everybody to remember. I think the local businesses have kept us reasonably sane over the last year, but also it's actually been great to find and see new product and new innovation in some of these local retailers, whilst not forgetting that many of us have switched to a digital way of buying our groceries, and having the daily, or actually in my case probably twice daily, Amazon delivery coming through the door, and then you keep forgetting what you've ordered. But I think from a learning point from our business, and Inc. Retail for the wider group is extremely new. We were formed in December of last year, and we acquired the 3 brands in January of this year. So the learning curve for us has been, from Knomo, we are a complete global business from web sales, and also within our wholesale partners, and we have 2 of our own retail stores. So that business has been able to trade successfully. But when you look at the one of our other businesses, Chopped, which is a grab and go salad business, which predominantly served the City of London and the office environment, a major sticking point for us, and that business had been completely closed through lockdown. So what we've been trying to do is, how do we evolve that business? How do we get that product from a home delivery service as well? So we're constantly looking at innovation ways of that consumer that probably is now going to work from home 1 or 2 days a week, but actually they want their healthy salad. We're working on ways of, similar to a sort of Fresh Direct, where we can have Chopped delivered to your desk at home.
Yeah, super interesting. Thanks, Dan. That's that's very, very nice insight. Especially we are probably all very aware, how well Amazon done over last year, thanks to what was happening and how we all got hooked to this order button. Thank you.
It's just really easy, isn't it? I mean, that's the beauty of digital online shopping, that it's super easy, it's clear, and people need to get back to the high street.
I think online shopping kind of exemplifies that impulse buy nowadays, because you may not actually want that product, but you just see it somewhere, and then I do it probably between my house and your house, down Amazon is floating live, but that's what happens. I'll see something, and I'm a gadget freak, and suddenly I see myself pressing the thumb, and it's ordered.
Yeah.
For me, it's last year, 2020 was a a real roller coaster of a year and emotions, to be honest. Both Dan and I were in a company, a shopping centre company, and obviously shopping centres went through a really tough time. And although individual parts of the business were actually making a good amount of money, the company actually went into administration. So that was my first ever kind of time that I'd been through that sort of process. So that was very, very unique. Taught me a lot of stuff. Dan actually helped quite a lot because he knew how this process worked and stuff. And then setting up a consultancy, then finding this ability to bring Zellebrate from Australia into the UK. Again, the lows suddenly just became highs. I've been speaking to so many councils and bids around the UK, and the fact that, you know, our mantra is that local shopping and bring footfall back into the high street and stuff, say the local streets. It's amazing for me to think, coming from a digital world, how much people have actually missed that physical part of the shopping world. So it's like when you can't get to do something, you miss it more and you want it more. And I think that's where we're heading back again now.
It's really interesting. I like, to be honest, I fully agree. I ran an event, or I was speaking at an event called Think Retail in 2019 with the top retailers in the UK down in London, Google event, 250 people in the audience. But I was talking about omnichannel and measuring solutions across omnichannel. And now what I did is I had the list of people who were there before, and I went and just Googled them. I checked out their LinkedIns. So this is not a foolproof method. It's not an Adam-proof method. Not very scientific, but only one of them that I could find had omnichannel manager on their title. Everyone else was either online or they were a brand, and they were kind of like, there was a disconnect between the two of them. I think when I think about 2020, just to go back to the original question, it's both highs and lows as well, kind of to Indy's point. So I work across multiple different verticals with multiple different clients and agencies and people who have, you know, full e-commerce versus some who have 10%. And you have the guys who have been set up digital focused and have done all that groundwork in the last 3-4 years through delivery systems, logistics. They understand heuristics with buying online. You know, 4 pairs left will always do better than limited availability. You know, basic things like that, where small players, independent players, can be really clever and make a huge difference. So I was working with some clients who absolutely are excelling. And then I have others who I was working with that, you know, maybe their sales, one in particular was a luxury brand, and their sales, online sales, 3x'd throughout basically the first 6 months. But they also had to make 10% of their staff redundant because digital was only 10 to 15% of their revenue streams. So they hadn't really gotten they hadn't quite gotten there yet. And when we look at like 2017 to 2018, you know, if you check the eMarketer reports or the ONS, the Office of National Statistics, you see percentage of retail sales is increasing. And it was always going to increase between 2019 and 2020. But it was just the acceleration from that created that ramp up. And that was where the disparity was. So really interesting time. And you're seeing a huge amount of new brands as well, properly making impact. Excited to see Zellebrate come to the UK. I think it'd be fascinating. There's a great stat. One of our Think with Google teams did it. It's if anyone Googles it, it's called changing shopping behaviors. Just type in Think with Google and you'll search for it there. It was in the UK from March. And they were looking and said, okay, actually a quarter of people within the UK bought a new fashion brand that they'd never bought before during their restrictions. So they never had a chance to try it on and then they bought it. And 75% of females actually are going to continue to purchase with that brand, and 82% of men, so 4/5 roughly, are going to continue to purchase with that brand. And that was a fascinating insight because it was an opportunity. That was a watershed moment of, you know, like that classic thing of being able to touch it and to feel it. Actually kind of broke through that a little bit, and there's a little bit more trust in there. But when you dive deeper into the data and into the details, you still see that people also want to go back into the stores because they want that experience. And it's a blended, experience. And we finally gotten to a realization where we've been forced to. So that brand I was talking about that unfortunately had to make 10% of their staff redundant, their digital team was never really spoken to from a strategic side of things, from the accounts side of things. They didn't really care what the digital team were doing. They were only adding on 10, 15%. But now in the re-emergence out of lockdowns and out of restrictions, they realize actually this is a full blended system. We can no longer be siloed. And my hope is that in 2021, maybe late 2021, if we do another Think with Retail event, or 2022 at the very beginning of the year, and I scroll through people's LinkedIns, that I see a lot more omni-channel managers, because we are finally taking credit for the digital's impact on offline sales and the offline experience's impact on online sales. If that makes sense.
I think the targets that brand owners put on their shop managers and things like that needs to be amalgamated, because at Into, it was a very weird situation. We were a shopping center, we had physical tenants, and I was brought in to kind of digitize it and have an online shop for everyone. And we did this through affiliate marketing. Now, in certain ways, as we had more partnerships with affiliate marketing, and it really expanded to the point that a lot of the marketing managers from these retailers who were in our centers wanted to work with Into more and more and more and more. But the physical store, the kind of people who did the leasing and stuff like that, they were complaining to our physical side of things, saying, hang on a minute, why are you promoting online so much? And it was this real sort of tug of war between the physical world and the digital world. Whereas when you actually sit down and explain the halo effect of having, digitization of products to the physical world, and how, I had complaints of, I get so many returns back into my stores which were bought online. And then when you delve back into the data and you go, right, okay, you did have that many, but how many of those then shopped in the physical store? Because they didn't just come in to just return something. And then the light bulb moment started happening in the last few months. That, as you say, that omni-channel word got pressed about so well, and there are brands like Next who do this amazingly well, and they don't really have two separate departments. It's all into one.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think in that, Indy and I were very, very close to that. And it's, when you look at that omni manager job title now, predominantly that person has come from a physical retail background. And that, I think, is super important now, that it is one whole experience. And quite rightly, for one of my businesses, Knomo, we only have 2 physical stores. We have lots of touch points that you can buy through Selfridges, Harrods, John Lewis, major department stores, for example. And we're on a number of other websites other than our own Knomo.com. But I'm absolutely happy that a customer walks into any place where they can touch, feel, get the service, get the sales consultant really talking about the features and benefits of that product, and that person walking away and ordering it online. That's absolutely cool for me, because they're still buying one of my products, but they've been through the journey. And I think a lot more people are doing that now. And Indy's comment is right there. We saw that right at the end in a number of other retailers. They were experiencing it within a physical store and then going home and buying it.
That's great. I think that's really insightful, and I think having worked with a lot of you as well on this kind of thing, on trying to maximize both the digital side and the footfall, there really has been, we've seen in the past, a big disconnect. So I think that's the big takeaway from this, is making sure there's more connection between offline and online, which you've all kind of expressed in fantastic ways there. So that's really valuable. So for the next question, we're going to start with someone that isn't Dan for once. So, Indy, we'll start with you. It's kind of a broad question, but how much value did you see from online e-commerce for the businesses that you've worked at before the pandemic versus during the pandemic, and now kind of, I guess there's another versus at the end there, which is us emerging from lockdown and the pandemic?
Again, if you look at last year, it was I was in a kind of a strange situation where I ran the e-commerce side of things for a shopping centre landlord. So in a weird way, the better the online side went, the more we were questioned and sort of held back a little bit in certain ways because of potential complaints of physical tenants. Because they just didn't understand what we were doing. They thought we were just taking away all sales and not actually driving footfall through a digital mean. However, through the latter part, when we were able to speak to the physical retailers about kind of the omni-channel world and bring, Dan and I even worked on bringing some online only retailers into the physical world for the time. When you get to that sort of situation where you are being able to blend both parties and doing that, so we had ideas of getting online retailers and having a showcase, or getting online retailers and having this new technologically adept department store. So you would never have seen these guys previously in a physical presence, but here they were coming into an Into store. When we had things like that, we involved ourselves in card-linked cashback offers, things like that. That's where we really saw the value, the future of what it could have been. Unfortunately, administration then came along, so we've had to park that. But over here in Zellebrate, I'm taking some of the learnings that we had previously and really trying to I'm speaking to cafe owners. I'm speaking to my mechanic. When I went to get my MOT done, he was just asking me what I do, explained to him what I'm doing at Zellebrate, and he was like, "This is really good. What can you do to promote us?" And we explained it, and we, some of the times people have been in an industry which is purely physical for such a long time that they can't shove themselves out of it, so they bring experts in. And this guy had wanted to get a website set up and stuff like that, because everything for him was purely organic. He really was the epitome of local shopping, because he really didn't do any actual advertising as such. Past customers came, past customers brought him new customers. And he kind of realized that actually to compete, I'm going to have to go into this digital world. And that was really scary for that person, having had this business in the family, his father's generation as well, but never really on a digital side of things. The, stuff he was being quoted for to do a simple website, for example, that scared him, because he couldn't actually acknowledge that, hang on, if I built this, which I have never done before, how do I know that that's going to increase my business and stuff like that? So I think the onus is on people like us and agencies and stuff to actually really go out and explain, these are the benefits. This is not just the results, but these will be the actual benefits of, if you do it this way, this is what will follow through, and really kind of hold their hands. One of the biggest things that I've noticed coming through is also referrals. So like from Google, for example, where you get to refer and recommend and put testimonials about local shopping, that every single person that I've spoken to is saying, are you on Zellebrate, are you going to have this referral sort of thing, because that actually brings me lots and lots of business. So I think as it, what's happened has happened. There is now a strive to become this omni-channel world, and I don't think we should step back from it. We need to press the gas pedal even harder and really try to bring everyone along with us for the ride. So the smaller retailers are the ones that really need that sort of help the most. And I think if you build that foundation right with all the hundreds of thousands of smaller retailers, that will build this omnichannel from the proper way, from the ground up.
Fantastic. I really like that. As a kind of follow-up to that as well, and you know, do you think this is going to change business models then?
Absolutely. I'm seeing it now. You know, everyone that I'm speaking to is talking about, okay, so how do I bring loyalty, loyal customers? I don't want to be, when I go online, is it all about trying to attract new customers, and what happens to those old customers and stuff? So it's not just a one-stop shop sort of thing. You need to explore all the different things that a digital marketing world can bring you to bring you forward. So, loyalty, I've heard certain people say loyalty is dead. It's just not done right. You're not hitting the right sort of things that people want to see, and different, Gen Zs want to see different to Gen Ys and things like that. So as long as you know who your audience is, you treat them properly and then reward them in a certain way, but back everything up with data so that your new customers, that you need to treat them in a different way, and do that and get help where you need to, but build this omni-channel world which gets you the data which will flow through.
Yeah, totally agree, Andy. And I think, when we talk about, does it change the business model? The business model is broken, and I can say that as somebody that's worked landlord side, and that somebody is now a retailer side. The days of and I make no excuses for saying it, of greedy landlord, upward only rents, not interested in your brand, not interested in how they can support you, are well and truly over. And those landlords now need to sort of come to the table and be part of the partnership. And that's where I think the crossover of e-commerce business and physical shopping, that landlord needs to share that with you. And we may be going slightly off piece, but that landlord, in terms of what the business model and the rent looks like, it needs to be a material partnership between the business and also the landlord. And actually, when you start to run some numbers, and some of the new locations that we're looking to open at Knomo, when we've got some quoted rents, actually the model that we're putting forward is above what the quoted rent is, because our sales projections across the whole business, in terms of what that e-commerce sales through click and collect and driving somebody back into that store. And that's the key thing, is that in the true omnichannel world, that customer needs to come back into the store, either to experience the product, to choose it, or to certainly pick it up. And that sale is then attributed to that physical store. You then get buy-in from the store manager, because it's their whole business, their sale, and also you're then sharing that information with landlord, and you're working together in completely changing the retail landscape. And that business model has to change. And some landlords are now sitting up and taking notice. To see the collapse of the UK's largest shopping centre should be ringing alarm bells.
Very interesting. Thank you. That's awesome. How about you, Adam? What about you and your sort of experience during pandemic? How this your approach, I say, business model as such, about how this changed in Google, and what is your take?
Yeah, no, like that was absolutely fascinating from the two guys. I'm like drowning in information. It's so good. I'm gonna watch it again on a run later, or listen to it. Sorry. But no, I think it makes total sense, and it's why I love working with partners like Fountain. Because when we go in, we chat to the guys at Fountain, we say, okay, who are the clients? Who are the retailers you're working at? What are their business models? How can we help support that? And I think that's the most important thing from our side. And the piece of research, I think what Google research that I mentioned earlier, we see that like over 55s have had the largest growth. It's like 30%, you know, from 26% will buy online pre-COVID to 58% during pandemic. And actually that's only going to drop to about 50% afterwards. So you're still seeing that massive growth there. But that's where, like, from the measurement of the attribution point of view that Dan mentioned, is going to be so important going forward. So how we're measuring things is really key. Now, there's no silver bullet for that, for want of a better word. A lot of it has to do with modeling. A lot of it has to do with projecting. A lot of it has to do with that side of the business. But like one clear example on that. So with the large retailer I mentioned earlier, who had about 10-15% of online sales, they were selling Canada Goose jackets. You know, the men's luxury jacket. And they were looking at their online only return on ad spend, and it made 0 cents for a 6-month period. So they thought, let's go and turn that off. The agency actually just had a quick look at what their omni-channel return was, because we were using an alpha technical googly thing that the Fountain guys and us talk about that nobody else needs to get into the minutia of. But we had a look at their omni-channel impact. And actually, instead of I think it was like 6-to-1 or 8-to-1 ROAS, it was 27-to-1. Because what it was people searching online, guys searching online, going in, trying on the jacket, and then going, actually, yeah, that's the one that I want, and going and buying from it. In terms of like the business model piece that Dan was mentioning as well, I find that absolutely fascinating. And it's one I think we will, you know, usually you might get a year to train for a marathon, but because of COVID, it's like train for a marathon in 3 weeks, guys. You know, like that's what I mean by the acceleration that we've been put under. And that's why partners like Fountain, and AdamApp, it's not just about media delivery. It's also about understanding where the revenue model sits with you, so that we can project out from a lifetime value off the back of it, and to make you continuously profitable. Yeah, lots of things I've thrown at you there. Apologies in all of it, a scatterbrained way.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, Adam. I think it's like you said. It's about properly watching what's happening out there, analyzing and the data, what's coming through, and especially making quick steps and action, and these changes and make these changes happen.
I think honestly that like the one tip that I can kind of give from all of this is not a kind of a digital marketing-y thing. It's not a business modeling. Well, it's more business modeling, but get the right people into the room and just explain it to them. Have 5 minutes. This is what our digital is doing. This is what our offline is doing. This is how they integrate. As Dan said, I don't mind if someone comes into the store, experiences it, and then buys online. And it's just that 5 minutes of bringing all the heads together allows for the freedom to react, to things like this. If I go back to my earlier point, I was working with some businesses who'd been doing this for 2, 3, 4 years, getting themselves ready, and were able to twist and shake to it, and others who had only started the process or hadn't even started it, and they're the ones that have kind of fallen down a little bit. So it's to not be scared of that conversation and bring in those other heads, whether it's accounting or CRM or brand management or whatever it is, all to one place.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll move to next question. And I'll probably maybe start with Dan again. So when it comes to your area, e-commerce and retail, what do you think is the niche in your approach and your product at the moment?
I think when you look at that across, two different types of business, when you look at Chopped and Knomo, completely separate. There really isn't a physical, a true e-commerce, but there is. We've recently launched a brand new app, because what I want to do is, especially for Chopped, that person is, time poor. They're sitting at their desk. They know that they go to Chopped every day for their lunch. They know exactly what they want. You can now download the app and order your favorite salad, and either go and collect it, or we will get it delivered through one of the many delivery partners that are available to your desk. But actually, when you look at from a retail point of view, the stores have been refreshed during lockdown. We've moved to digital screens. We've moved to highlight the quality of the product, where it's sourced from. So our chicken is sourced in the UK, is not pumped full of any chemicals or water, unlike some other fast food outlets. And we don't talk about that, or we haven't talked about that pre-COVID. And I think that's one of the good things that's come out of this, is that as a team, and going back to Adam's comment on actually does the product team sit down with the finance team and sit down with the e-commerce team, and do we actually strategize the whole business together? Pre-COVID, that probably doesn't happen in every business, but it certainly happens now in our business. And for me, the person that works 4 hours on a Tuesday afternoon is just as important to hear their point of view on what that consumer wants to see and touch and feel. From a Knomo business, a complete e-com and retail business globally. We are in the process of rebuilding a complete new website. So it's Knomo.com, and we ship from the UK globally. And we have a very large uptake going out to Australia, also into the States, and across Europe. So we're working with new delivery partners. For me, it's about speeding up that process. So, whilst I want that consumer in the US to be able to purchase from Knomo.com, I also want that product to arrive on their desk in their house, as quickly and as cost effectively as possible. And that is now reaching out and working with other partners. And how do we do that? At the same time, building on what Indy's talking about on brand loyalty, and how do we keep that consumer engaged? So there's a huge amount of work going on in the background for Knomo. And by the end of this year, there will be, a new website, new product, and we will be certainly communicating differently across the board from a retail and e-commerce point of view.
Amazing, thank you. How about Indy?
Yeah, sure. So Zellebrate, there's a couple of things that's niche there. So we aim to be able to show you any product in your vicinity of your physical presence, and so we give you the choice. So you have the choice of walking down 5 minutes down the road, visiting the store, touching, feeling the product that you're looking to buy. You may get that affinity towards that particular store or brand, or if you want to, the ease of convenience of the digital side, we can do that as well. But our emphasis is on taking you to the physical store. So things like cashback and things like that will, originally we will start off, so if you go into the store, if you make that effort, we will reward you by giving you that cashback side of things to you. I think our biggest niche is that Zellebrate is like a pure partner model. So unlike other marketplaces where you've got joining fees, integration fees, retainers, and etc., Zellebrate will only charge you upon delivery of result. So it really is a true partnership. We only get paid if we help you make a sale. So, if we haven't made a sale for you, actually what you've had is a brilliant branding exercise, free marketing by us, because we'll write content for you and things like that. We're really heavy into writing content. I'm already have spoken to Dan about writing content for his luxury handbags and backpacks that we think are going to be amazing. But I suppose the main thing that we want to do is get people who are already used to kind of now onto the digital side of things, but get them used to using the digital side to walk back and into a shop and help local retailers come out of this on the right side. So, you know, you don't lose your favorite coffee shop that you've been going to for many years. It doesn't just become a chain or housing or whatever it might become. So yeah, so at Zellebrate, our niche is that, you know, we're digital to physical, and it's a pure partner model.
Awesome, thank you. I mean, it's yeah, I mean, that's just perfect example of what I think, you know, the nowadays consumer, what they need more, they need better service, they need you know, they want to go back to stores, and that's the best way to make the journey easier and you know, and nicer, and help them to find the right product and have the whole experience of shopping or browsing absolutely top. Yeah. So I just moved to Adam, if you have on this topic.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a Googler if I didn't talk about machine learning and boring, geeky, and techie things. But no, honestly, the reason for it is so important for twofold. One, to kind of go back to Indy's point, if we look at kind of queries within the UK, especially as each you know, restriction gets reduced, the local queries are actually the fastest growing. So it's not just, you know, like suits, men's suits, it's men's suits, and then you're booking them shirt or whatever it is, and it's near me. So there's that huge growth of opportunity there. But then also, if we look at the generics, the generic queries are 3xing at the minute what our branded queries are around the kind of retail space. So there's a huge boom in the amount of queries because people are now so used to their mobile phones and all their kind of the technology that they can just say, hey, give me this information and put it in my brain. Like if I asked each of you to show me your last 5 Google searches from your phone, I'm sure you don't want to, but you know, because it's that personal. But from an execution point of view, how do we help clients? How do we help agencies to actually execute and making sure that we're getting that right return for them while we can still focus on the strategy? And that's where the machine learning side of our business is really accelerated into. It's a core part of what we do as a business, and we provide for everyone. It's one that the guys in Fountain are incredibly good at, but it's kind of like the you know, within a car, there are 2,000 or 20,000 individual parts, but a petrol car and an electric car, it's about 10, 12,000. And nobody knows what all of those individual parts do, but they can still drive the car. And that's what we're trying to do, is try and take out some of that tediousness and trying to bring that data together so that we can go on to bigger strategies and have those conversations with the different teams, bringing them in and measuring and attributing properly. Yeah.
That's really great to hear, and I think one thing, this actually feeds quite nicely into our next question. So Adam, it would actually be interesting to start with you and then see how the other guys answer this as well, because it's definitely going to be different from yourself to Dan and Indy. So that question being, what technological innovation have you either started or adopted, either within your kind of department or project or company over the last year? Because you know, it's going to be very different for Google and the developments made on its platforms, various ad platforms and otherwise, compared to companies that are actually using those different pieces of software.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there's like there's like loads coming out all the time. Like just look at the Google Ads blog; it's mind numbing. Especially if you read it all. But like what I have kind of seen in the last little while, especially in the last year. So at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of slowdown. But if we looked at, say, your Google My Business, you know, we shifted all of our engineering focus to focus on, you know, if you search for a local place, did you know if it was takeout, it was dine in, you know, that little X and the ticks and things like that. So we tried to make sure that all the local businesses were sorted as quick as possible. You know, if we take the advertising side out of it. I think the big thing for us is looking towards that lifetime value piece, which I know Indy mentioned before and Dan kind of touched on as well, and the measuring of value of each individual customer, so that we're putting, because we're all limited, but we have all limited marketing efforts, right? That is our budget. Yeah, obvious, but it's also our time, our expertise, the products we have. Like there's loads of different things that limit us. So we want to make sure that we're putting our eggs in the right baskets. So through the guys at Fountain, we've already kind of begun working on this for the last 6 to 9 months, but focusing on making sure to drive high value users when we have that explosion of growth within the generic queries or local queries, making sure we're driving the right users at the right time who have that intent to purchase. Is the big focus for us, and it will be for the next year and a half if you look at some of the products that we're starting to release. The second point of it is actually also the offline piece. So we have local campaigns which essentially try and help businesses who have physical stores to drive users towards those physical stores and measuring off the back of that. But I was working with a very large a retailer, like homeware retailer across France, Wallonia, so like the French-speaking part of Belgium and Brussels itself. And they use these campaigns to kickstart when they came out of restrictions to just remind people, actually, we're still here. So it's about kind of that combination, of looking for value and making sure we're spending time on those users who are going to drive value. Like if I go back to and that's really obvious for a brand or store manager, and for a digital team, that's where we really need to focus. Like if I went back to my 16-year-old days in Tommy Hilfiger, someone came in a suit and a tie with already a bag from the competitor shop down the road, I was 100% over there to try and help and make sure that I could find them the right shirts to go with whatever they were looking for. Especially if I had 10 of people coming in at once and I had a limited effort, I had to pick one to work on. That was the one that I went for. So that's what we're really trying to focus in on the digital side from a Google perspective at the moment.
Dan, I wonder if you could jump in here as well, because I think that'd be fantastic to hear your side of things in terms of digital adoption as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The digital adoption for us, as I said, we're installing digital into Chopped, which is not unusual for fast food, but also from a more importantly in Knomo going forward, even from a wholesale point of view, we plan to move to sort of digital showrooms and have that as part of the play, but also from press events. Again, digital, online. We want to do a lot more campaign advertising, all through digital and moving away from print. But I think what's also extremely important is that you don't 100% move into that digital world, because there still needs to be that interaction. Some people, and especially in glossy print, we still want to do that. But also from an online point of view, again, the Knomo business is over 50% digital led. But again, we're focusing on physical retail space, because that is, as I said earlier, for me, still extremely important, and there needs to be that crossover of the digital element to physical side as well.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I wonder as well, Indy, if you could come into this discussion as well with and I guess almost answer some questions with what Zellebrate can bring to the new technological market.
Sure. I mean, we've been very lucky this last year or so. We teamed up with Adamap, who are actually building our app for us. And with their expertise and our internal tool for mapping every single product in the UK. So imagine how difficult that is. There's shops opening, online retail opening all the time. So physical retailers opening websites, putting products on there. We will literally have every single product that you could be looking for available at the tip of your thumb, finger, whatever you use, to find where it is nearest to yourself. And that, for us, if when that's goes live, that's going to be an absolute game changer, because that will hopefully bring that footfall back into shops, and you won't go, oh, I don't know where it is. It's literally right next to you. But on top of that, one of the things that I really wanted to have with the app is real stickiness. So it's not just purely geolocation. I wanted it to be a situation where you tend to use it as often as possible. For me, apps are these things where previously you counted how many downloads you got, and that was it. Everyone talked about downloads, but for me, it's the monthly active user or the daily active user and what they're actually doing with it. That's what resonates with me. So I spoke to a few boutique shops that sold wedding dresses, for example. And lots of weddings in the UK have been cancelled because of COVID and stuff. As things going back, there's still this worry that you're never going to be able to bring all of these people that came with the bride to see the wedding dress on for the first time. And what's that going to be? I'm not going to have my mum around because she's elderly and all this, that, and the other. So we want to have like a live streaming ability with the app. So the retailer, you go into the shop, or small select a few people go in, the bride tries it on, and then you can actually be talking to the people that you've given a particular code to at home in their own homes, so they can make comments and things like that. So they feel involved in the whole day, and it's magical. And yes, it's not as magical as everyone being there and enjoying the Prosecco and things like that, but it's as nearest to that as possible. We want to do things like, imagine in the olden days, you go and try makeup on and there'd be testers and stuff like that. So now if you go back into shops, those testers, people will be wary if using them, don't know who's touched them and who's used them where and all that sort of stuff. So we want to have the ability of having your face being scanned, and we get API feeds in from your Mac, Bobby Brown, whoever it is, and you can actually see what your face would look like wearing that particular shade of makeup, and also take it a step further. So what it looks like in morning, what it looks like at nighttime, what it looks like in candlelight, and really try and ease pain points, I suppose. That's the best way I try and explain creating technology. Don't do it because it's cool. Do it because there's a need, because it eases someone's pain point. Gamification, someone needs to feel that they have gotten something out of it. It's not just about a shopping experience, but if you want the data back from someone to make your product better, you've got to give something in return, and you can't just give it away. Gamify it. So we're working on some internal games with AdamApp to see if how can we get people to come and use the app on a regular basis. And we've come up with Pass the Parcel and like a slot machine sort of game and things like that, where you get rewarded by retailers who will encourage you to come physically back into the store, but you get to do it in a game sort of fashion. So we're trying to be part of your lifestyle as opposed to just needing us when you want to go shopping.
Excellent. Thanks, Indy. I mean, it's obviously users need to have some fun, right, when they go shop, and not just, obviously, then they like to have a much better value from a platform what you're developing, which will be super exciting to see when it comes to life soon. But also, like, they need to be good transactional value. I need to be fun. That's for sure. All right, so I'll move to next question. So probably the question for everyone. In terms of revenue generating marketing and sales platforms, how has this changed over the last 12 months or since pandemic starts, let's say? Have some platforms become stop being profitable or more, would you say? I don't know if it's clear enough.
Yeah, it's probably me to kick off again. So it's a really interesting one, and you know, for us, definitely at Knomo, there's a number of sales platforms that we've been using. The one that's now not the least used, but probably the least profitable is by using Facebook ads. The consumer of, I think that's an important point also for businesses to look at is, it's everybody's been using lots of different channels probably for a long time, and it's a bit like it's the norm, and that's why we're excited to work with Indie and Zellebrate once this launches, because it really is, this goes back to this partnership model of them really understanding who that consumer is. Our own e-com site, again, extremely profitable for us. And for me also, it's now about the correct marketing with affiliate marketing. That's the way forward for Knomo. But not forgetting, the platform of sales is also physical retail, and that has to be at the forefront of people's minds as well. That physical retail is just as important as digital retail.
Yeah, and I think, like as Dan said, retailers are becoming more and more savvy, and as Dan mentioned right at the beginning, rent. In previous years, rent was this blocked item, and that was it. That's all you had to pay, or that's everything that you had to pay. And it didn't matter what you earned from being in that particular space, you had to pay that because that was it. With this new sort of rent for sale method that a few landlords are doing, that sort of platform is going to be amazing. And other online marketplaces who follow that sort of method of not just charging retailers a pure rent, but taking part of that pain with them and saying, look, we will do everything in our power to promote you to our database, and if you get that sale, that's when we get rewarded. But then as a platform ourselves, what we get from that sort of thing is we build a great database on email, on social and things like that, where we get to understand who's going into what part of our website, what are they using it for, and things like that. So, for example, imagine a situation 6 months down the line where I can go to Dan and say, Dan, Knomo, I've got this bunch of people who are very interested in luxury items. Every time I do anything about luxury, promote it on the website or any other method, they go mad over it, and they click it, they open it, interact with it, comment on it, whatever. And actually, within that, and that's who you should always market to first, and then we'll spread it out. So rather than just going to bombard everyone, we'll target them first. But within that, there's, we can segment it down to handbags, backpacks, all that sort of stuff. So that's your core market. But then, Dan, actually within that, there's a bunch of people that whenever we do something about one of your rivals, they always open that up, but maybe not interact as well with yours. Now, as a retailer, having that level of information and being able to kind of change the messaging a little bit and think, why does that work for them and things like that. As a platform, as a marketplace, if we can provide that to the retailers, that level of data to the retailers, that gives the retailer a real power to go back to their consumers to and really understand what it is that they're trying to buy and how they want to buy it and things like that. And that's a win-win situation for everyone. Retailer makes a sale, consumer buys something that they want, we get paid.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks so much, Indy. So I think we're coming to the end of 60 minutes of what we scheduled for. And I'd like to thank everyone. It was super insightful, and I think it will be interesting to see what's happening in the next few months with e-commerce and retail and those intersections, and also the data, what we'll see. Thanks Adam, for really brilliant insight from Google side and interesting data. Dan, obviously that's was really pleasure to chat, and as well as Cindy. So from my side is I want to say just thank you to all.
Perfect. Yeah. And yeah, thank you to everyone watching. I think if you would like to continue the conversation, then please do hit all of us up on LinkedIn. You can also reach us on email as well. Please do continue the conversation. It's great that we should be opening this to more people as well. As all of our three speakers were saying earlier, there are people that are falling behind on this. So if we're going to really move forward, we need to bring them up to our speed as well, and particularly on that omni-channel point. So I think from all of our speakers, from Jan and myself, everyone, it's been fantastic, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.